after after a deep dive into philosophy for decades, one of the things that I realized is that um, even as much as I love existential Thomism, and I do, I was in my office a few years ago, and I realized that um, as good as our philosophy is, it's just a map. It may be the best detailed map, it may be a true map, which helps guide people along their way, but it's not the world. It's not the world of things. So, I mean, there are two things that the Apostle Paul says that I think are enormously helpful. The first is when he says, "To those who have the law, I become like one under the law. To those not having the law, I become like one not having. I become all things to all men, that I might save some." And that for me really was a driving principle in terms of trying to understand other people's perspective in philosophy. I mean, even in apologetics. So reading Richard Dawkins, the God delusion type stuff. Did I want to? Did I actually hurtle the book across the room? I think I did at points. But it's this idea of love seeking understanding, and it's not just understanding things; it's understanding people, knowing where they're coming from, being all things to all men, that you might save some. So that's one thing. And the other thing that Paul says that is really helpful. I know this is sort of a Captain Obvious thing. You mean the Apostle Paul said something that's impactful for Christian life? But for Christian philosophers and extremely contemplative people, I mean, you don't get into this job without having a contemplative bent, you know. But knowing that philosophy is just a map, being guided into being all things to all people, love, seeking, understanding. But Paul says in Romans, in 1 Corinthians 13, the chapter on love. He says, "If I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, but have not love, I am nothing." So yeah, there's a book by a guy named Danny Silk entitled "Keep Your Love On," and my wife's reading it now. I'll pick it up, but I just find that a very interesting title and sentiment. So I think those are some of the things that you should probably know more prospectively than retrospectively. You want to get to the end of 30 years of study and realize, oh, it's not all about knowledge and fathoming mysteries, or knowing that the system of ideas that you're building is really just a map for a guide to things and to be a help to people. So I think not losing sight of the very human connection that we can have in Christ through others